can't think of one thing that's more important. Geography is everything! Hey everybody, Tekking here, and welcome back to Geography is Everything! Remember to get your t-shirts below. Also, thanks to Tanner for that epic intro. So those two intros, the one that AMV Chopsticks did and the one that you saw just now, I'm probably going to alternate back between the two. But let's start off this episode right with an objection! I'm not out of order, you guys are out of order! The whole damn system's out of order! Phoenix Wright references, yeah! Alright, so this episode's gonna be on Enies Lobby, and I just wanted to make sure to get all of the courtroom references out of it, you know, before we get too much into the episode. Although I will say, I will pay very good money if that ever were to actually happen in an actual courtroom. You know, like the really dramatic stuff you see on television, like, I'm not out of order, you're out of order! I'm pretty sure the bailiffs would probably just jump the guy as soon as that happened. But, you know, or just watch Judge Judy, and some weird stuff happens on Judge Judy. Anyway, so Enies Lobby, also known as the Judicial Island, is one of the three main government facilities that make up the tub current. See, the government, because, you know, they're the world government, decided that they could have their own little currents, so they can, like, own part of the ocean that no other person could gain access to without government clearance. And all that required was to build giant gates, like literally the size of mountains in the middle of the ocean, in order to manipulate the currents as they see fit. Now, how exactly did they build those giant gates in the middle of the ocean? Well, we don't really know the exact methodology, but we know it probably involved fishman slavery, so you know that's not going to be a good ending to that story since it involved, yeah, fishman slavery. But anyway, yeah, they built these giant things called the Gates of Justice, and then they constructed 3 facilities in this tub current that only the government officials and the Marines and people that are permitted could actually enter and leave. And if anyone else tried to get into it, if anyone got too close to the currents, it actually generates a bunch of whirlpools around it, so if anyone just to try to sail directly into it, their ships would just get destroyed. Now, Enies Lobby is pretty much the place that is set up as the place of fair and balanced justice, because, you know, the world government has to at least have a facade of that. Like, oh yes, the pirates that we capture, we don't just execute them, we don't just throw them in jail without a trial, they definitely have justice first. That's what Enies Lobby is there for. You want to know how many pirates have been found not guilty at Enies Lobby? Go ahead, guess. If you're not familiar, it was actually stated in the manga, but if you don't remember, try to guess. Try to guess. It's 0. Not a single one. Not a single pirate that has ever went to Enies Lobby and has, you know, sat before Judge Baskerville, who's actually 3 dudes just wearing a robe. Okay, and along with the just 11 jurymen, not a single one of them have ever been found not guilty. And like, oh, you're not guilty of piracy. Get out of here. You're fine. No, every one of them is found guilty and then summarily either sentenced to life in prison and impel down or a death sentence. And if they get the death sentence, they get sent off to Marineford where that execution is played out. So that's usually how these 3, facilities usually work. You know, Enies Lobby is sort of like the point of the well, I guess you know what I mean. It's a triangle, but like at the opening of the triangle, and then they'll either go to Impel Down or they'll go to Marineford, and if a Marine ship really wanted to, they can get in this tub current and go between all 3 facilities at their leisure. It's also a lot faster to travel that way. Like, for example, when Luffy wanted to travel from Amazon Lily to Impel Down, that journey would usually take, I think, over a week, but as long as they traveled in the tub current, it took like 4 days or something like that, so it's also a little bit more of a speedy way to travel, especially in the world of One Piece, where conventional flying machines and stuff don't exist. I mean, yeah, you have things like the Sea Train, but the Sea Train is only connected to a few islands. It would be one thing if the Sea Train could be connected, like, to the entire Grand Line. That would be really convenient, but that's just not the case yet, so, yeah. Enies Lobby, like I said, it's pretty much just a facade, especially since when you consider that the jury, the just 11 jurymen, you see what the joke is Oda's going there, because they're not in fact just, but it also is another meaning of just, because there's usually 12 people to a jury, so it's the just 11. There's just 11 of them? Yeah. Those are actually former pirates. So, you know, former pirates are not going to, you know, find current pirates not guilty. That's just kind of, that ruins their lives too. I think it was stated, like, they get a reduced sentence if they find people guilty or something like that. Anyway, it's rigged in such a way that a pirate is, once they step into Enies Lobby, they're pretty much screwed. They have no hopes of, like, well, maybe they'll find me not guilty. Like, no. You're either going to to impale down or you're going to get executed. One of the two at that point. Now, the reason we're spotlighting it here on Geography is Everything, it really has less to do with the actual island, because the physical island itself is normal. It's actually broken up into 3 islands. You have the first island, which serves as the main entrance to the place. That's where the day station is, where the sea train arrives, and then there's the main gate to the proper island, which is much larger and holds an entire town. That's where the citizens, you know, like the families of the government officials and the Marines, that's where they live and everything. The barracks are there, you know, like the markets and everything, so people can buy food. You know, that's where that is. And then the third island is beyond that, and on that island rests the Tower of Law. That's the only thing that's on this island, and this is the place where, like, the CP9 congregate. Like, this is like a governmentally owned building. Beyond that, there's a few artificial constructs, like the Bridge of Hesitation, which is beyond the Tower of Law, and then, of course, the Gate of Justice, which is even beyond that. So the general idea is that a criminal, a pirate, will be captured, be brought into the island by a sea train, and it will be carried up the steps to the main gate, and the gates open, and they get to see Enies Lobby in all its splendor. They're marched through the town. I'm imagining while they're being marched through the town, they encourage the citizens of the Marines and of the government officials to throw rotten food at them, like, oh, debase the pirate scum! And then at the end of the main island, you have the courthouse where, like I said earlier, Judge Baskerville and the Just 11 jurymen will find them either guilty or guilty, depending on if they're guilty, which they are, totally guilty. Afterwards, a bridge will come down, they'll go through the Tower of Law, and then they'll pass over to the Bridge of Hesitation. It's called this because it takes a while for the bridge to actually extend beyond the gates of justice, and I think that's kind of like another way the government is trying to be cruel to them. Just like, yeah, this is the last glimpse you'll ever have at freedom, because once those gates open and you're in the tub current, you're not getting out. Either impale down or an execution at Marineford. One of the two. So we want you to just sit here on the Bridge of Hesitation for like 10, 15, 20 minutes, maybe even an hour, as we slowly lower the bridge and the gate slowly opens. So you could just sit there like, there has to be a way out of this. There has to be a way out of this. There's no way out of this. Unless you're Robin and you have the Straw Hat crew helping you out, there's no way out of this. So that's just a little bit more of a cruelty there. But that's hey, okay, there's a few things there, like the, you know, not the Tower of Law, but the Bridge of... But anyway, yeah, that's the layout of Enies Lobby in terms of the actual island. Now, there are a few things that are a little out there, like I said, the Gates of Justice itself. That's kind of an incredible feat of engineering, and the Bridge of Hesitation as well. But that's not the weirdest part about Enies Lobby. Not even by a long shot. The weirdest part about Enies Lobby is, you know, if I could pick one thing in particular, it's the fact that the entire island is floating above a giant hole in the freaking ocean! Frankie said it best. When Frankie was being, you know, brought up through the main gate, the first thing they see after the gates open is they see the actual island before them, and Frankie's response to it was, there's a freaking hole in the ocean! You know, okay. So, this makes no sense from, like, look at this. Look at it! Like, this isn't even like, you know, an optical illusion or something. Like, oh, maybe if I look at it at a certain angle. No. No. The island is literally floating above a massive chasm that leads down to, I guess, the ocean floor? Maybe deeper than that? I have no idea. And to make the weirdness even weirder, the weather around Enies Lobby is constantly afternoon. It has no night. It's also referred to as the Nightless Island for that reason, and that's why the train station there is referred to as the day station, because night never befalls Enies Lobby. Not just night, but no weather patterns whatsoever. It never rains there. It never snows. When they were in the middle of Aqua Laguna, the worst tidal wave in the, you know, the entire year, this huge storm gets whipped up. The entire ocean is choppy, this giant tidal waves crashing into Water 7. Enies Lobby is entirely safe. It looks like a beacon of sent from heaven itself, this one little place that's untouched by the bad weather. Okay, so from what we can understand there seems to be like an invisible... I want to say force field, but we've never really seen it like that. Some sort of invisible pillar that, like, extends over the sky and then the island and then the ground below, or the ocean below, so the ocean doesn't touch it and the clouds don't even get close to it, okay? And it's been like this for apparently a very, very long time because everybody is cool with it. Like, the government officials, like, look, the main island itself is literally floating over a bottomless abyss. And people live there, and they're not really that bothered by it. I would assume they would probably avoid looking over the edge as much as possible, but can you believe that? Imagine, like, your entire town was floating over an endless abyss, and you were just chill with it. You were just like, yeah, it's a little wonky place to live, but, you know, home is where the heart is. You know, I would be terrified living there. Like, every day I'd wake up like, are we still up here? Are we still floating? Oh god, this is terrifying. You're just waiting for the day for that whole thing. Like, look, the island is literally just connected to the first one by just a little slither of land. Although, I guess even if that slither of land was, you know, separated, maybe the island would just be floating over the abyss. So, there's obviously some messed up stuff with gravity going on here. Gravity. Oh, it's Fujitora! Well, okay, maybe not actually Fujitora, because Fujitora was only recently admitted into the world government through that draft, but maybe a previous user of Fujitora's gravity fruit, we don't know the name of it yet, the Gravi no Mi. The previous user of that Gravi no Mi might have done something messed up with it, maybe made this, like, perimeter around the island, but it's strange because the island itself has ordinary gravity. It's not like the people on Enies Lobby can jump really high, or, you know, their stuff's floating around or anything. Like, no, they live perfectly normal lives. Everything is the same, except for the fact it just happens to be floating over a giant hole in the ocean. The water that's coming in from the rest of the Grand Line just pours down into this like an endless waterfall. Where does the water go? Is it a hole that goes all the way to the center of the earth? That wouldn't be the case. If that was the case, wouldn't you be seeing a lot more steam because it would be evaporated? Maybe it, like, recycles itself, you know? Like, maybe it's like, here's the top of the ocean, the water goes down, and then it just gets added back to the, you know, bottom of the ocean, and just keeps doing this over and over again, and just avoids the hole there for Enies Lobby. You know, it really does seem like there's some sort of invisible gravity field that doesn't actually affect the people on the island, but actually provides support for the island. Also, it manages to reject any weather phenomenon, so any clouds that get close to it are just shunned away. And the weirdest part of this whole thing, though, is that it's an endless day island. So, how does that even work? Because if we're going by the same way it works in our world, you know, the Earth rotates, the sun is here, and then, okay, the part that's hitting the sun here, this is daytime, but then the Earth's gonna rotate, and it's nighttime now on this side, but it's still daytime there, so if it works the same way in the One Piece world, that means there also has to be some form of artificial light illuminating the island constantly. That would actually make a lot more sense. I mean, we never really explored the area above it. Maybe it has something to do with a sky island. I don't know, but it's a very strange place, and it wasn't really mentioned at all. Like, when the Straw Hats got there, each of them had, like, a little bit of a moment where it's like, holy crap, we're floating, aren't we afraid we're gonna fall? And everybody's like, no, we're fine, and we're not falling. This town has been here for a while, a few hundred years or something. Probably goes back to the Void Century at some point, but I'm honestly lost on this one, because it's not just like the gravity alone. Like, that would explain why the island could, you know, maintain its integrity, could stay in one place, static, without dropping, but that wouldn't necessarily explain how it's always sunny there, or it rejects all the weather. You know, it would be very complicated to explain all of this. The other idea that we have is that since it's implied that whenever a Logia is awakened, they can actually affect the weather, like on Punk Hazard when the duel between Aokiji and Akainu got really heated, and chilly, I guess, at the same time, it permanently altered the weather of that island. Also turned it into a Pokeball for some reason. I don't know, I'm sure that lake right in the middle of Punk Hazard, that's the moment when Aokiji and Akainu had their final epic clash, and it left a giant crater, and it eventually filled in with the seawater, and that created a lake. But that's Punk Hazard. So maybe it's something similar to that on Enies Lobby. Now, Fujitora's fruit was not, in fact, a Logia. He couldn't, like, turn into gravity. That's its own can of worms right there. But no, I'm assuming it's a paramecia. But we don't even know if it's Fujitora's fruit. It could be another fruit altogether that could have been a Logia that would just have the capabilities of, you know, maybe if it was some wind-type Logia and that was awakened, it was done in such a way where it rejects all the wind currents and clouds from ever entering the island. You know, or, you know, it, you know, used wind to, like, I don't know, Moses part the ocean? I don't know, man. There's some biblical references here going on. Actually, there's a lot of of biblical references during Enies Lobby. I mean, they're found throughout One Piece in general, Skypiea and everything, but there's a lot in Enies Lobby as well. But the good news is, I don't think Oda would just gloss over that. I don't think he would give this island such a unique design and circumstances and just, like, never reference it again. I mean, like, there's some weird stuff that goes on in the Grand Line. Like, we all understand that, but this is the first time we've ever seen, and the only time in the series we've ever seen anything this crazy, where there's, like, apparently an endless chasm right in the middle of the ocean. I would also say it was maybe because of, like, let's say a meteor, like, crashed down on the planet, and the meteor was special or something. Like, maybe here's an idea, maybe Karyoseki, Sea Prism Stone, it doesn't come from the Earth. It was, like, some space rock thing, and when the meteor of that stuff crashed down, it made, like, a perfect, like, pillar zone that was, like, completely, you know, like, pushed away everything else around it. But if that was the case, why is there an island still there? You know, that's also an issue there. Maybe the island, you know, formed later. I don't know. I'm just trying to come up with something, you know, anything. But any hooty-de-doody, right now Enies Lobby is probably under repairs from when it was bombed into oblivion by the Buster Call because Spondum was an idiot and accidentally summoned it. And I guess even when it's on one of their own islands, the Marines and the government, they don't even bother checking to see if that was a confirmed strike or not. They're just like, hey, yeah, we just received a signal to Buster Call Enies Lobby, which is, you know, one of our own facilities and a lot of Marines and government officials live. Can we get a quick confirmation whether or not that's really something to do? No, they just like, oh, there's a signal that came from freaking Enies Lobby, attack the island! Like, I'm just saying, that's really stupid method to do that. I mean, that's like saying, okay, so by that logic, if, you know, Spondum, who had the golden transponder snail, if he was beaten up by Robin, oh wait, that actually happened. If he was beaten up by Robin and Robin stole it and clicked the button, a Buster Call would be summoned with absolutely no safeguards. Absolutely nothing. Not even a call to make sure, like, can we get a confirmation on that? You know, like, nothing at all. It's just, okay. So anyway, Spondum pressed the button, the Buster Call arrived, bombed Enies Lobby into oblivion. It was, like, leveled. Now, that, once again, didn't really damage the actual integrity of the island at all. It's not like the island, like, cracked and fell into the abyss. It's still there, the actual island. It's just the city and the Tower of Law and everything was destroyed. Now, that was 2 years ago, so I'm assuming they began to rebuild after that. I'm assuming it's probably not up and back to where it used to be because it was completely destroyed, so it's probably going to take more than 2 years to completely repair it, but I'm sure repairs are underway. They wouldn't just leave it that way for the rest of time. So anyway, yeah, that was pretty much everything about Enies Lobby. Let me know below on how you think this place works, whether or not it's a Fujitora's fruit used by somebody else back in the Void Century, or if it was a Logia that was awakened that did something to it, or if it was a space rock that crashed down and messed up with the atmosphere a little bit. How does it still get sun? I think that's the one thing that messes me up. Like, how can it get sun all the time and there's no night on the island? That's the thing that really screws me over. But anyway, that was Enies Lobby. I'll be doing other videos for... I already did kind of a video for Impel Down, but I liked Impel Down. I like the different levels, so I might just do another one for that. Screw it. And for Marineford as well, which is currently G1, but I'll be doing one for that as well. So, sit tight for that. Thanks for watching, everybody. Remember to check out my Teespring store below to get your own Geography is Everything tee. And also check out Tanner, because he did the intro for this episode. It was really cool. So thanks, everybody. This will be Tekking101, signing out!